I said yes to this voice, not knowing what this voice was, but I'd never heard this voice before. And all of a sudden, it took over my body completely. It was like my tears went right back up into my eyes. And I felt so powerful. I felt myself rising up. I was uh, full of power, but it was on the dark side. And as a 13-year-old, from the time I was 13 till I was about 28, that voice that I said yes to took over my life. And it was a very dark entity. I guess say it was the devil, you might say.
Hello, my dear friends. I'm Donald Lee, and this is Expressing and Revealing Your Truth with Donald Lee. It's a podcast in which I help you understand the truth about who you really are and how you can express and reveal that truth in the world. To do that, I interview people who have had transformational spiritual experiences, the type of experiences that many of us wish we had, but never do. Yet by learning from my guests' experiences and the wisdom they gain from those experiences, all of us can glimpse a bigger vision of who we really are and how we can live our lives more fully, more peacefully, more lovingly. Be sure to download my free mini ebook containing 5 of the 50 parables from my popular book, The Band Director's Lessons About Life. These little parables are short, easy to read, inspiring, and also help you to understand more about who you really are. There is a link in the show notes to get your free ebook. In this episode, I interview Karen Klassen. Karen came from a troubled youth that took her down a dark path. Then she had an amazing spiritual experience in 1993 that changed her life. I'll let you hear about it from Karen herself. But Karen went on to connect with God or Source or the divine or her own soul, whatever you want to call it, in a dramatic and meaningful way. She then started to teach other people about how they could do the same. Naturally, she's done a lot of things with her life since then, and you'll hear about many of them in this interview. Karen is the founder of Life Force Nation, which is a large network of freedom-minded and spiritually minded people. Let's jump into this great conversation with Karen Klassen. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to Expressing and Revealing Your Truth with Donald Lee. And today I have a wonderful guest, Karen Klassen from Calgary, Alberta. And I have known Karen for a couple of years. I've spoken at some things. I've been on her show, podcast. I'm not sure what the live stream, whatever the best thing to call it is. And Karen has a wonderful experience. All of his transformational spiritual experiences are wonderful and amazing, and they're all different. So here now we get to hear about Karen's incredible experience of spiritual transformation. So Karen, thank you for joining me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Donald. I am grateful to be here. And I just want to say I am so thrilled that you have taken on your destiny and have said yes to your soul mission and offering this podcast as well. So thank you for being who you are.
Well, what do I say? It's my joy. It's my pleasure. It's my mission. It's in India, they would say it's my dharma, right?
Yeah.
This is my soul path. This is the role I'm here to play. I think, right? It's my understanding of it at this point anyway. And so, and I'm sure you'll touch on this idea, in what you have to say, but we find our greatest fulfillment in life by somehow figuring out what our soul purpose is in this life and fulfilling that purpose. And it's always some aspect of serving others in some way. So, yeah, I'm trying to help other people advance and progress along their spiritual journey and understand our spiritual journeys better and, all that kind of stuff. So, and you are a part of that. So let's hear your story that I think sort of begins with your spiritual experience in 1993, but you might want to give us some background before that. So take it away, Karen.
Thank you so much. Yes, I will give you definitely some background prior to 1993. Up until the age of 10 years old, I had a lovely childhood. It was amazing. I was very connected to Mother Earth. I was very connected to the fairy realm. I just loved life as a child. And I remember there was this one specific moment where I was going to school. I had my red poncho on. This is like back in the 70s. And I was just waiting for my mom to give me my lunch. And I remember dewdrops on the grass. And I remember feeling the dewdrops and connecting to them, and they were making me laugh as a child. So I was very, very connected. And then, unfortunately, we had to move from where I was in Squamish, BC. I was born in Vancouver, raised in Squamish, and and my dad, in order for him to progress in his work with the government, he had to move. So he moved to this really tiny town, and my mom became very angry because my mom was a city girl. She had the wigs and the dresses and the heels and the gloves and the fur coats and the pearls, right? And now we're living in Hippieville near Nelson, BC, and it wasn't even a town, it was like a trailer court, etcetera, right? So my mom was very angry, and unfortunately, she took a lot of her anger out on me, and it really squashed me as it squashed my spirit in so many ways. We moved to another town when I was 13 years old, and by that time, my mom and my father were both expressing their anger onto me. I had no idea as a child, what do you do with this anger that's being pushed on you? And so at the age of 13, I remember a voice and very distinctly, and the voice said, Karen, let me take let me take over. I will protect you. I will help you. And I remember crying. I was 13 years old. I'm crying. My mom and dad are over me and they're just yelling. And all I could hear was wah, 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 right? And I said yes to this voice, not knowing what this voice was, because I'd never heard this voice before. And all of a sudden, it took over my body completely. It was like my tears went right back up into my eyes. And I felt so powerful. I felt myself rising up. I was, uh, full of power, but it was on the dark side. And as a 13-year-old, from the time I was 13 till I was about 28, that voice that I said yes to took over my life. And it was a very dark entity. I guess say it was the devil, you might say. And
Yes. So be
I
careful
bec
what you say yes to.
yes,
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
good advice to every teenage girl
Oh,
in
yes,
many ways.
definitely. I became addicted to drugs, sex, rock and roll, full on. And I only liked the people that I could party with. And if you didn't party with me and if you didn't give me drugs, I didn't want anything to do with you. I disassociated from my mom and dad. I ended up moving to Vancouver when I was 18. And I just became a part of the wrong crowd, and that crowd gave me so much in regards to feeding my addiction to alcohol, feeding my addiction to drugs, cocaine. I've done every drug, you name it, I have done it, except for heroin. I was very close. Yeah, I'm very grateful that that didn't happen because I know that would have probably taken me right out. But, yeah, so I eventually moved to Calgary, when I was 19. I met a man, I thought he was my knight in shining armor, but I found out that he was a big drug lord in Calgary, cocaine, etcetera. And I was with him for about 7 years. I got married to him, and I really never wanted to marry him, but, he was very aggressive in his nature, and he told me that if I ever left him, he'd have me killed. And I knew that he knew people that can make that happen. Anyways, we would have these big cocaine parties and drugs, and I was amazed that because I never knew the drug world in the way it was when I was in Calgary. I mean, there were judges at my house, there were lawyers at my house, there were teachers at my house. I had no idea that these people even did drugs like in this way. But it was a big wake up call for me when the police called and they were tapping our phones, etc. And I knew I needed to leave. So I did leave that marriage finally. I left with basically nothing. And I thankfully met another man and he gave me a safe container. He gave me a safe container to discover who I am. And it was with him that I had my spiritual awakening in 1993. I actually was homesick. I was working for the insurance industry at this time, and I I did not like my job. Donald, insurance industry is just so corrupt. And I I was at home depressed thinking, "Oh my gosh, am I going to be working in a cubicle for the rest of my life?" And I just had watched the movie Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine. Highly recommend that movie. It is phenomenal. It's a true story. It's her story. And
Yeah.
at
I
the
read the book decades ago. I read
yes,
that book, and I'm pretty sure another one by Shirley MacLaine. Yeah, and she, you know what, she was really ostracized for, coming out and telling about her what a really spiritual experience, weird things, seeing spaceships, all that kind of stuff. And she was kind of ostracized in Hollywood uh, for coming out with that stuff, but she had the guts to do it. Good for her.
yes, she was definitely ostracized. And that movie changed my life because in that movie, she's showcasing her experience of leaving her body, an out of body experience, right?
Right.
And as she's, uh, yeah, sharing her story at the end of the movie, I'm now pondering on my couch. I'm wearing my house coat. I have the flu. I'm homesick. My boyfriend is on a golf trip, so I'm by myself. And now I'm pondering the two questions she asks in the movie: who am I? And what is my purpose? And I'm thinking, this is a really big universe. What am I doing in a cubicle? I'm not here to work in a cubicle. There has to be way more than this. In regards to potentiality and the potentiality that she was sharing in the movie. And then all of a sudden, in my living room, the energy completely changed. It felt like a lightning bolt went through my body, my heart. I had never felt the energies that I mean, I was very much asleep at that time, really. And this energy took over my body. And at first, I was fearful because, of course, I wasn't used to this energy. But in moments, Donald, it was this beautiful love that just blanketed me. And I relaxed into the experience. And as quick as the experience came, I mean, it didn't last very long. However, it was transformational because for the first time ever, I was hearing a new voice in my head. Up until that time, I was only hearing this, "You're not good enough" voice, "You're not smart enough" voice, "You don't know enough." And I believed that voice. And now I'm listening to a new voice, a calm, beautiful, more feminine voice that said to me, "Everything is illusion. The only thing that is real is love." And I could feel this love. And Donald, it was, of course, not the love I've been used to in regards to human love. It was the divine love, which I call now enlightened love. It's the highest level of love that we can experience when we're connected in the oneness of our own divinity. And I cried for a week after that because I now was connected to my soul and I was crying tears of joy. But again, I was apologizing to my soul for not knowing that it was, I mean, I read about my soul and now I'm experiencing my soul for the first time. It was so profound. And in saying that, once we have an enlightened experience like that, we do go back into the ego, we do go back into the normalization of our life. However, what changes is the level of consciousness that is within the self. And so because my consciousness shifted, I realized that I now had a choice to make. It was a crossroads, where I could choose this one path over here, and it's the path that I've always known. It's the same path. And it's because it's known, there's no fear here. I'm just going to be doing the same thing I've always done. However, the other path is going to lead me into the unknown, and this was going to require me to let go. This is about letting go of everything in the known reality for me. And I said yes to that path. I said yes to the unknown. And that's what brought me to today.
Yeah, and that's made all the difference. That's transformed your life. And over
Yes,
time, in I've been a teacher, right? And we have this saying in education, a mind once expanded can never return to its former size. And it's
absolutely.
kind of the same with in a spiritual sense, right? Once we expand our spiritual understanding, we can never go back to that simpler, more primitive, smaller spiritual understanding that we had before. It may take time for us to readjust our physical
Yes.
life to kind of be in tune with our expanded awareness of ourselves spiritually, but we can never go back to that state of innocence, you might say. Like all types of loss of innocence, you can never go back to that state of innocence.
Not
Once
at
we
all.
know that all there is love, even
Yes.
though our actions might not always align with that knowledge, it's in there, and our life will ultimately align more and more to the reality that all there is love.
And the incredible thing too is that I was now craving meditation. I had no idea what meditation was. I just knew that I needed to learn meditation. And I was on the phone with my brother. This is probably about a month or so after my experience. And he said, "Well, why don't you just look in the newspaper? There might be a meditation class in the newspaper." And I'm thinking, who would ever put a meditation class in a newspaper? I mean, we didn't even get the newspaper, right? And the funny thing is, 2 days later, I opened the door and there is the Calgary Sun on our doorstep. I opened it up, and lo and behold, in the classified section is a beginner's meditation class. I'm like, this is incredible. So I ended up going, and it was a woman named Christine, and she's a very famous medium from England, and she was living in Calgary at the time. And I decided to go to her meditation class to learn meditation. The funny thing is here too is that I had a fear of the dark, and her classes were at her house, but in her unfinished basement. And there was about 8 of us, and all she had is a little tea candle. So here I am having to overcome my fear of the darkness, overcome my fear of spiders. It's like, and it was so amazing because my very first time at meditation, it was powerful, but source filled me with so much energy that I ended up throwing up and passing out. Yes, I actually
That's
came.
very, very unusual. I've never
Yeah,
heard or seen of that before.
yeah, yeah, I came to, and I had a cloth on my forehead, and she was behind me, and she says, "Oh my gosh, the demons do not want you to access your power."
Wow, that's amazing.
And yeah, and I wanted to leave, and she says, "Karen, don't leave, because if you leave, you're most likely will not meditate again. It's like falling off a horse, getting back on." And so I'm so glad I listened to her, because I went back into the meditation, and this is my very first time I'm now receiving a visual. Like, it is not me using my imagination. It is a vision that I have, my very first vision, and I was probably only in meditation for a few moments, and I saw these hands, and they're in prayer position, and they opened up, and it was a lotus, full color vision. And I'm like, okay,
Amazing.
yes, I love this. I'm going to be definitely meditating from now on.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. So I began meditation every day for 1 hour every day, transformational.
Yes, that is, and hats off to you. I've, I say often, I've written in my books, I'm not a good meditator, but I keep working at it. I keep trying, but I can't keep my focus for an hour. And in my most recent book, which is a study guide to go along with my book of parables, and each week I have a different meditation. The idea is you spend a week on each of the 50 parables. So it's a year-long course in spiritual development. And in
Beautiful.
each week, there's a different meditation to do. I start off people gradually say, okay, to begin with, 5 minutes a day. Okay, and then every 4 weeks, add another 5 minutes. And if you can persevere with that, then by the end of the year, you'll be meditating for an hour a day. And it seems like impossible, but so many things. Because the whole book, as you may know, I can't remember if you read my book of parables or not, but they're all with my little trademark, the band director, so the band director's lessons about life, etc. And they're
Right?
all
Yeah.
using music as a metaphor for life. And it's kind of like as students start out, learning a musical instrument, and everything's hard. Holding the instrument is awkward, and then putting your lips and blowing in the right way is just really weird, and it's hard to make even a sound to begin with. And it's impossible for students to believe that, somewhere down the road, they could be a professional musician and playing in a symphony orchestra or something like that. You just, or yeah, I can't even hold this thing, So it's little step, baby steps. I used to tell my students, baby steps, guys. We'll learn one more new note today, just one little baby step at a time. And yeah, meditation is like that too, baby steps. I'm still working on the baby steps of meditation, but hats off to you
Very.
for being so good at it.
Thank you. Well, I mean, that was the beginner meditation class, 1 hour in silence. And I realized that it has nothing to do with anything. All it has to do with is the discipline of just sitting in a chair for 1 hour and not listening to the mind wanting to leave the chair. Not, the mind does not want you to let go of it. Is trying to hang on for dear life. So it doesn't want you to move into that realm, because we're going to be dissolving the mind to enter
Yeah.
into the divine mind. And as I would just sit, I didn't think of anything. I just allowed my body and the energy in my body to activate. That's all it really was me activating the energies of my field, which I wasn't really aware of at the time. And as I just sat and allowed myself to just unplug from the 3D world, unplug from the TV, unplug from computers, unplug from the phone, unplug from life in the 3D world, then I was able to just sit and allow for my soul to do what it needed to do in order for me to heal my body. Whatever it was doing, I had no idea at the time, but those meditations, an hour a day, helped me to transform my health, because when I was involved in the drug world, I was very ill. I had chronic back pain. I had chronic fatigue, scoliosis, depression, suicidal thoughts. I had IBS. I was a mess, and I had an actual cane at 19 because I could barely walk, and the doctors wanted to fuse my spine, and I thought, no, there has to be another way. And the doctors told me that if I didn't change my lifestyle by the time I was 30, I would be dead. And even that didn't change my life at all. I was just, in a very unhealthy relationship, unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy everything. And so when I began my spiritual journey after that moment in 1993, I I was now dedicated to my soul. I was dedicated to my higher self, And I knew that if I did not listen to the voice of my higher self, I would suffer. And I realized that uh, from a very early experience, that if I didn't listen to the directions and the instructions that were being given to me, yeah, I would suffer in some way, whether it was money wouldn't come into my life, or I would have, really uh, painful experiences if I was drinking, because my higher self kept saying, Karen, you're not going to drink alcohol anymore. You're not going to be doing drugs anymore, etc. I'm like, I just got one more, right? No. And if I had one more, then I would fall down and I would break an ankle. Like it was like that kind of breakdown to breakthrough experiences.
Just a little break from the program to mention a couple of things. Firstly, if you're enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm to find more people who would enjoy these interviews. Also, if you're interested in spiritual growth, you might be interested in my series of spiritual books. As a spiritual author and a former band director, I use my little "the band director" trademark in these books because I use music as a metaphor for life and the journey of becoming a musician as a metaphor for our spiritual journey. There are 3 books in the series. The Band Director's Lessons About Life is a book of modern-day parables inspired by events from my teaching career. When you're working with kids, little things naturally come up that we sometimes call teachable moments. Little events when you realize there's a bigger lesson happening right now than the alternate F-sharp fingering on the clarinet that I was trying to teach. I started writing some of these little stories down and turning them into modern-day parables. So, the Band Director's Lessons About Life has 50 little parables. It's a bit like a Chicken Soup for the Soul book. Each parable is about 3 pages long. Each begins with a story that happened in school, and then there's a reflection section that draws a spiritual lesson out of the events of the story. That is, it explains the spiritual metaphor. The Band Director's Lessons About Life is easy to read, makes a great gift, and expresses many universal spiritual principles in an easy-to-understand way. If you want to go deeper in your spiritual growth, I've also published a study guide to accompany the Book of Parables. It turns the Band Director's Lessons About Life into a year-long course in spiritual development. You will spend a week on each of the 50 parables. There is a deeper teaching about the meaning of each parable, reflection and discussion questions, especially helpful if you would like to use the study guide in a group setting, and a different meditation for each lesson. The 3rd book in the series is a little book titled The Band Director's Pocket Guide to Spiritual Growth. This little book explains a simple 3-step process to putting your spiritual growth into high gear. You can learn more about all of these 3 books and my other books at my website, www.cominghomespirit.com, because, after all of us are on a spiritual journey back home to God. So that's cominghomespirit.com. You can also go directly to my Shopify page at cominghomespirit.myshopify.com, where you can purchase my books directly from me. I can deliver ebooks and audiobooks anywhere in the world, but at the moment I can only ship paperback books within the continental United States. So if you live in other countries, you will need to purchase my books through Amazon in your own country. If you're enjoying this podcast, I really think you'll enjoy my Band Director series of books as well. Now, back to the program. So from you spent a year meditating an hour a day. That's fantastic. And that had a transformational effect on your life too. So let's pick it up there.
Yes. So as I was now shifting into greater awareness of who I am, I was traveling into other realms and really experiencing myself as a soul. And I realized that as a soul, our soul is actually more physical than this aspect of ourselves here in this physical, in this 3D realm, that it's more physical, more real than anything here. I was really so excited to be traveling all of these different realms and teleporting.
Can you describe that a little bit?
Yes, well, I would be sitting in my chair, and all of a sudden I would be at standing on the top of a mountain, and
So
it would be
this is your soul or your consciousness or, you know,
yes,
whatever name we want to give to it. No, I know, but people describe it differently, put different names on it, but I don't think anybody really understands the whole thing all that well. But whatever, your soul, your consciousness is now
yes,
removed, is somewhere outside of your body having
100%.
experiences. Okay.
I'm in a different realm altogether, and I am the Karen Klassen that's still sitting in the chair is still in my mind as I'm there. So the ego Karen, the avatar Karen in this 3D realm is still there. And so the back of my mind, I'm going, "Oh my gosh, look where I am. I'm at the top of a mountain. Oh, wow, look at this." And I'm saying to myself, "I wonder if I can move around it. I wonder if I can, move and just, see the vista before me." And I'm moving around because I want to see what's behind me, what's beside me. And all I could see was mountain range after mountain range. And I'm thinking, "This is amazing." And I'm looking down and I could see my feet, and my feet are on the snow. And then I see a man, he just appears out of nowhere, and he says, "Karen, I'll be with you soon." And I said, "Oh, okay." And it is so real. I'm there. Have you ever read the books Masters of Living, what's it called? Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Baird
Oh
Spalding?
yes, I have. It's a set of three books.
Yeah, there's five
Yeah, it's
altogether.
oh five. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
I had not even discovered those books, and here I am having these experiences, and they talk about that in the books, that there's this realm that we can go to, and we will not feel the cold, we will not feel the heat, we'll just be in that energy of our true self, our true nature.
Right.
Yeah, so I've had those experiences, and I've also gone into different realms. I now call it the divine mind conversation. I teach my clients now the divine mind conversation, where we actually go into a white room and you're sitting across from another self, a self that you want to heal, whether it's your angry self, your sad self, etc. Or you can go in and experience your mother or your father and speak with them and allow yourself to share with them everything that's been unspoken, because it's our unspoken words that we need to express, and because it's like layers, right? As we express all everything, the hurt, the disappointment. And that's how I heal my relationships with my parents, was I would take them into this divine mind room and have a conversation with them. And it allowed me to vent my anger, my frustration, my disappointment, my sadness. And then I was able to see my mom as her higher self and my dad as their higher self. And they could say, "I'm so sorry." And they were only doing what they knew at the time, right? They didn't know any better, etc. And they had no idea what love was. And as I'm experiencing this divine mind conversation in my own meditations, I was now about 22 years old. And no, sorry. Yeah. So I was 28 when I had my spiritual experience. And when I met with my dad, he told me that he was so sorry that he had allowed my mother to treat me the way she was. And he didn't know any better at all. And my mom even apologized to me. So it's incredible how our mind has the power to really transform our 3D reality as well
Right. So I'm
as
sorry,
we go.
Karen, can you just to clarify? So these conversations with your mother and father, Is this in this physical world when your mother and father are alive? Are your mother and father still alive?
Yes, they're still alive.
Okay, and were these conversations with them in person, or were you doing this in consciousness, like your higher self, your soul or higher self talking on a non-physical level to their souls or their higher selves? Which is the case?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking for clarity. Yes, I call it the divine mind conversation. It's a powerful guided visualization that I take my clients on, and it really allows you to go in and feel any relationship, whether they're here or not. If they're passed on, it doesn't really matter because we're all energy. However, because we are all energetically connected, and me healing myself energetically with my mom and her soul in my mind, in my own divine mind, really allowed for the energies in the 3D realm here, in the physical realm, for the energies to be cleared so that my mom and dad could actually see me now and they could come and actually apologize to me. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but I've had clients before where we've done the same thing with them. I had a woman who she hadn't seen her father in years, and she kept attracting really, like, men that were emotionally unavailable. So I thought, "Okay, well, usually when that happens, it's a issue of a father issue, so let's go and heal the father wound." So we went into the divine mind conversation, guided visualization. She went and had a profound experience with him, released all her anger, everything, resentment, and then 3 weeks later, she texted me and she said, "Karen," she goes, "you'll never guess what." Well, she goes, "Well, I guess you will, but my dad called me. Other 10 years, he called and apologized to her." And so it just really clears the energy, the pathway for that to happen. It doesn't mean that she wanted her dad back into her life, but it cleared energy, and so now she was able to attract a healthy man, emotionally available man into her life. So now she's happily married. And yeah, so it's just the divine mind conversation is so powerful.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, thank you for telling us about that. Is there more to the story? Because like you're doing a whole lot of exciting things now. So I don't know how many years there are between what you just told us and the present time.
Yeah, well, back then I realized that I wanted to step out of the corporate insurance world and divinely guided. And when you're really connected, as you know, your creativity starts to just flourish.
Blossom,
And
blossom.
yeah,
Yeah.
so right?
Because we are naturally creative, and that creativity is, as I have written about, it's an aspect of God within us. It's an aspect of the divine within us because possibly the greatest attribute of God, the source, the divine, whatever you want to call it, is creativity, right? God creates, God created the universe and the world, all that kind of stuff. And he shared that creativity with us. So as we connect more with our soul, with the spiritual realm, with everything spiritual, then our creativity blossoms.
Absolutely. I actually wrote a book called Living in the Freedom Frequency. And little did I know that it was really for the time that we're in right now. And it's really all about us from going from the below the line. I call below the line is fear-based consciousness, and that's where all the systems keep us enslaved. And we're here to detach from all that and rise up and live in the heart. And then when we are living in the heart, we are living in what I call the frequency of life, the freedom frequency of life. And as I began to move forward, I created a game. I was given a download to create a game, and so we had a game company for about 8 years. It was so much fun. I got to travel all over the place and really helped kids to tap into their imagination. It was called Get Talking. It was so much fun. And then I just shifted into coaching, consulting from that game. A lot of corporations were asking me to come in and help their people to connect and have had greater conscious relationships in the corporate world. Like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was a lot of fun. And then I shifted into one-on-one coaching. I started love empowered empowering relationship coaching. Love was really what I was all about. I was all about enlightened love, and really helping couples to end the cycle of power struggle and really move into synergy and move into their own powerful ways of creating enlightened love in their life and what that looked like. And then, of course, 2020 came, and I was guided to let all of that go and create Life Force Canada to really help people pivot. And, those who are the ones who are awake and aware of what was really happening in the world. I I just wanted to create space for people that, were feeling alone, feeling lost and confused. I started out with one woman on the call, and now we've got 5,000 subscribers on our Life Force Nation podcast. We changed it from Life Force Canada to Life Force Nation. And yeah, so it's just been a lot of fun, a lot of growth. I've been learning a lot about myself on this journey as well, as we're in the Great Awakening. We're also in the time of the Great Reveal. So everything is being revealed to us. And it can be, the fears can rise up because the truth has always been here. It's been hidden in plain sight, but it's always been here. And some people have a really difficult time with truth. They want the truth, but it can be a hard pill to swallow sometimes. So I'm just here to assist people in really taking that one step at a time that you're talking about in meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually is traumatic. And I've been talking and writing about that too since about 2020, that this change in perception and how we perceive the world, which is a change in our worldview, is actually very difficult for us humans to do. And it is traumatic to, to let go of our whole understanding of the world, because part of our world view, which is essentially, how we understand the world to be, part of that worldview is who we are and what our place is in that world. And so when we change our view of our understanding or misunderstanding of the world outside of us, it forces a revision of our understanding of who we are. And that's part of the great spiritual awakening that we're going through. And it's really the theme of my podcast and my work is asking ourselves, who am I really? Right. And really, we are, like you said, we are love because that's all there is. We are all different avatars of the one that is, all different avatars of God. We are all connected because there only is one, there only is love. Anyway,
Yes,
all of that. So, but as we touched on earlier, when you change to that understanding of yourself, that, as the title of my podcast says, expressing and revealing your truth, the truth of who you really are, it changes everything in your life. It transforms your whole life. And as you mentioned earlier, that's scary. That takes all of us into the unknown, and we fear the unknown, and we fear changing our understanding of who we are. So, yeah, that's all wrapped into this great process of transition or ascension, whatever name you want to give to it, this very difficult time that all of us individually and the world collectively is passing through right now.
absolutely. Dolly, you're so right. I knew that as I was on my journey, it is a journey of letting go in profound ways, letting go of the old identity. And that means letting go of habits, letting go of people. And that to me is one of the most difficult things. I know that if I'm going back now decades, I'm 61 now. However, back then I had to let go of all my party friends. And I had a big group of men and women who loved to party. And I knew because I quit drinking alcohol, I quit the drugs, I quit smoking. I had to quit all of that for me to say yes to my soul. I needed to to transform my life. And that was very challenging because I would be alone. And that was the fears coming up. Oh, I'm going to be alone. No one's going to, there's not going to be anybody here anymore. And it was true for a day because what happened to me, then I wrote down on this list of people and I said, I need to let go of everyone. I'm not going to be in communication with them anymore because they don't have my best interest at heart. All they want to do is get me high, get me drunk, whatever it is. And that's not my life anymore. And the amazing thing is when I made the decision, when we make a decision to change our life, Source, God, Source will support us 100%. I made the decision, and the next day, because I'm now, this is back then, I created my game company, and Source was now introducing me to a whole new realm of people and they were connected they were spiritual seekers as well. So here I was now connecting to people who were on the same path or similar path that I was on. It was incredible because as I began to let go of everything in this vibration of Karen Klassen, the old version of me, that vibration and stepping into a higher level of vibration, I began to uh, really empower myself to lift myself out of the fear-based consciousness reality, which is really all about suffering and the stress and anxiety and all of that. And because I was so attached to that identity, because that was the only world I knew. I didn't know that I could live above the line, and really, it's like I can actually live in prosperity, and I don't have to work for, like, hard work anymore. I don't have to put the effort in as what the systems have been teaching us. I just have to tap into my creativity and and it could the world can open up for me. Yes, it can, if we have the discipline to let go of the habits connected to that older self. And I realized that the habits and behaviors and the actions needed to shift in order for me to tap into my prosperity self, for me to tap into my healthy self as well. So I needed to stop eating toxic foods, for instance, in regards to health. And as I began to shift my not my just my diet, but the way I lived my life, all of a sudden my scoliosis, my spine began to straighten, my chronic back pain went away. I began to heal myself naturally. I didn't have to go to a doctor anymore. I was just all I had to do is listen to my inner physician and tap into the inner pharmacy, and as I did that, my life began to massively shift. I still went to, different alternative medicines, etc., on the path as well. I stepped into, becoming a Reiki master, etc. But I had a thirst for knowledge. Probably the same thing happened to you as well, Donald. This thirst for knowledge. We just want to know everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I mean, in a certain sense, that's one of my weaknesses on the spiritual path is that I'm too intellectual. I've always known that about myself. I'm constantly reading spiritual books, right? I got a whole stack of books that I have on the go all the time, right? And but we have to. It's not just about knowledge. I mean, Edgar Casey says, right? It's not
Yeah.
just knowledge. You have to. The key is you have to apply the knowledge. You have to
Yes.
do what you know to do. And if that's meditating, then meditate, right? If that's whatever. So yes, learn, but then do. That's the key part. Yeah.
Absolutely. Be, do, have.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't keep in touch with the whole crowd that you were in 40
No.
years ago. But I'm just guessing with that lifestyle and the road that you were on in terms of your health and everything else. I'm guessing that a lot of those people are either dead or in jail now. Do you know anything much?
No, I don't. It's amazing because they're in a completely different frequency, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm over in this reality, this frequency over here, and they're in a completely different frequency. So they wouldn't even know I even exist myself.
Yeah.
It's completely different realities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
But
is. It's
I
amazing.
did actually connect with a woman that I went to high school with, and she knew the path that I had taken. And when I reconnected with her like 20 years later, she was shocked. She goes, Karen, I never thought that you would live past 30. I thought you would be dead. And wow, you've totally massively changed your life completely. And yeah, so to me, it's like I am a living example of how we can go from one end of a spectrum to a high level in life. And
Yeah.
it's like now it's like I teach people how to heal their bodies, how to deepen into a higher level of love in who they are, because really all the suffering on in this world is really because we've just forgotten our true divine nature. And once we remember our divinity, we're unstoppable. We can do anything in this realm. We can expand time. We can do anything. It's just an incredible place to be when we are in our heart. Unfortunately, most people they say they want love and they're
Yeah.
seeking love, but most people are very afraid of love, very, very afraid of love. And so when they walk around with their heart closed, and then when they feel safe, they'll open their heart. But the moment their nervous system is shutting down, then they'll of course shut down. And so people are walking around with a closed heart. And we need to learn how to keep the heart open 100% all day, every day, because this is where our power is. Our spiritual power is right here, right now. And we all have this power, no matter who we are, no matter what our background is, no matter what belief systems we have, we can all ascend. And now I have this amazing workshop coming up in April called Ascend the Experience. It's actually it's the Charles Brenner technique. Have you heard of Charles Brenner? He's incredible.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Tell us about
it's
it.
Yeah, I actually went to a workshop. This is probably about early 2000. It was in Vancouver and it was a 5-day event. And it was the Charles Brenner technique. And it's a diet technique. And it's based on the premise of who am I, what am I here for, et cetera. And it's a very simple technique, but so profound that I actually had another amazing direct experience of source, profound, witnessed by 80 people in the room. I was speaking tongues. I was then taken to the stage, and now I'm speaking in English. And again, the avatar Karen Klassen, the ego Karen Klassen, still here in the back of the mind, but
Yeah.
there's a voice right coming through me, and I am channeling this incredible these incredible words. And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, where is this coming from? This is amazing." Right? But
Yeah.
again, this is our true identity when we open up and allow, and in order to get there, we need to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the key to being in that space. And so that I knew after that workshop that I would one day be facilitating it myself. And so of last year, 2025, is when I got the message that I'm to start facilitating this profound experience. So I had my first one last year, and now I have one coming up in April. And the people that were at that event are now coming to this event because they had such an amazing experience that they want to come now again, because it just takes you higher and higher, because you're letting go of your stories. We're letting go of everything in the way. It's like peeling the onion, right? Peeling those layers. And I am not giving any information. It's not about us being filled, as you mentioned, right? Not being filled with more data. We don't need more data. We need less data right now than ever before, because there's so much distractions, and we're allowing ourselves to create a field of distortion, and that distortion field is not allowing most people to really connect to who they truly are. So this process allows you to dissolve the distortion, the stories. It's so incredible. I'm so honored to be holding space is really all I do. Everyone's just doing their thing, and I'm just holding space. I give the instructions, and they proceed.
Yeah. So is this a in-person seminar? People have to attend in person?
Yeah, yes, it is. It is. Thank you for asking, Donald. It is April the 10th to the 12th, 3 days, and it's at a hotel. And it is absolutely incredible. I probably talked maybe for the first hour and a half, and then I give instructions. It's all dyad. And so you're facing another, and you're just in process with another, and whether it's a man or a woman, you're in process. And as you're in that process, there's an alchemy that takes place. It's an incredible alchemy that takes place. I have no idea how it happens. It's source, because only source, right, can activate the soul. So it doesn't matter. We can read books and blah, blah, but it'll be source that activates. And so source activates. It's just incredible. And I just there to hold space.
Yeah. So it in Calgary, is that right? It's happening in
In
Calgary?
Calgary. Yes.
Yeah. So let us know. Some people will just be listening to the audio and not looking at anything, and maybe driving or something like that. So tell us a link or two links or a website. Where should people go to find out about this, to find out about your Life Force Nation calls, if people want to join in with that? We'll certainly put whatever information you want in the show notes as well. But can you tell us your website or something?
Yes, thank you. It is lifeforcenation.ca. And if you go to the main header bar, you'll see the word ascend, and then you can just click on ascend. I do highly recommend that they become a member. You can become a free member or a private member, and you'll receive an email on in detail in regards to the event coming up. I only have 21 spaces now because it is an intimate gathering. And so it's the people are signing up, and it's going to be so magical and very excited, and again, very honored to be holding space. But yeah, it's lifeforcenation.ca. And you can also experience the podcast that we have on our Life Force Nation YouTube channel as well. Once you sign up and become a member, you also have access to our Telegram groups. We have so much information that we are giving our members. A lot of people are now wanting to leave Canada too, so we have a plan B for people who are seeking that, and a sovereignty activation manual that we offer for our private members. We know that sovereignty is not a rebellion. Sovereignty is really about reclamation. Sovereignty is remembering who we truly are and reclaiming our divine authority. We need to claim our divine authority now more than ever. It is so key in order for us to rise up and be the power. We are here to be divine creditors. We're not meant to be debtors. That's one of the biggest lies. So we need to step into that as well. So we teach a lot of different aspects in regards to health sovereignty, wealth sovereignty, energetic sovereignty. I'm always teaching about the biofield, the energy field, and that if we are not taking charge of our energy field, then they will, life outside of us will feed off of our energy. And there's a reason why they never taught us in school why we have an energy field, is because they're feeding off of it. So we need to reclaim our energy field as well. And so I talk about natural law a lot and how we can really embrace the truth of reality.
Right. That's awesome. Karen, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. It's been an absolute joy, and a beautiful and enlightening experience to hear about your life's spiritual journey so far. It continues on. So thank you so much, Karen.
I appreciate you, Donald. Together we rise.